Okay. Now here I am declaring let username, and it is a string type. And into that username, I am passing a value coming from prompt. Actually, our intention is to put this in a HTML page. Prompt is, in JavaScript, prompt is an message box. Actually, we call it as an input box, which allows you to input a value. So prompt, I am defining here. So your name. Okay. Now I am printing that. So console.log. I will say hello, and that username, whatever the username is entered. So this is the basic. So that means you declared username, and it is a string type, and we are expecting username to be entered from an input box. And when they enter from that input box, the value will be stored inside it, and we are trying to use it. Now what happened is, this value we are expecting into this username at runtime, means at compile time there is no value. This value will be provided at runtime. This prompt will come at runtime, not at compile time. So now directly when I compile this, it will show error. Why it will show error? Because Typescript says that in Typescript console mode, I cannot use this prompt because prompt belongs to window. That means we have to use in HTML. I will show you. So I will compile this null demo. That means I am compiling the null demo. tsc null demo.ts. When I compile this null demo, then here you can see null demo is compiled successfully. You cannot run this. Don't run this, because when you run node null demo, it will show error. Why? Because this is console mode. In console mode, there is no prompt, right? So don't run here. You link this JavaScript file to a HTML file. You link the JavaScript file to a HTML file. So here in our data types folder, I am adding a HTML file, some home.html. I'm adding a HTML file. In that HTML file, so here we can use, instead of console log, I am writing document.write, because we are expecting in HTML. HTML will print in the page, and I will compile this. So we are compiling this. Okay. Now we will link this. We cannot link Typescript directly. We know that. We are linking in the head section. We are linking the script source is equal to, so null demo.js. Okay. Now comes the important part here. Let's run this and see. When you run this, you can observe that when I run this, you can observe that how to run open with browser. it will open a prompt box like this. This is the prompt box. Now, in this prompt box, so many situations are there. So many situations are there. What are the situations into this prompt box? Let's see. Means what are the various consequences for this prompt box? We will see that. The various consequences for this prompt box. Observe the consequences for the prompt box. Consequences means you need to know the point like this. See, what are the consequences for this prompt box? I will show you. Actually, a prompt box came and the consequence is nothing but the result of this prompt box. The result of this prompt box. So whatever is there in the prompt box, we are storing in a variable. Observe, we are storing in a variable. And what is the variable? We are storing in a variable called username. That means this is going to store in a variable called username. Username. It is going to store in username. So username. It is going to store in username variable. It is going to store in username variable. That means the result of this will be stored in username variable. Now there are so many consequences. What are the consequences? Is if user clicks OK, if user clicks OK without entering name, without entering the name, then what it will return? If user clicks OK without entering the name, then it returns empty. It returns empty. That means it returns blank. That means user clicked OK without entering a name, then no problem actually, because it will submit empty, blank. And we can verify. That means username will be blank is referred with double quotes. That means it is blank. So this represents empty. This represents empty. Now, user clicked OK with some name inside it. Then what it will do is it will return that name here. That means username is equal to John. That value will be there. So there are two consequences now. One is user can click OK without entering name. Then it will be empty. User click OK with name. Then it will collect the name. What happens when user clicks cancel? When user clicks cancel at runtime, this is runtime, means you are running. At runtime, you are canceling this prompt. That means there is no value provided into username. Username is not provided with any value because you cancelled. Generally, at compile time, if a value is not there for a variable you declared, then automatically it will put undefined. Am I right? If value is not there, it will automatically put undefined. You don't need to write undefined. If value is not there at compile time, what compiler will do is compiler will put undefined into that particular variable. But at runtime, if value is not defined, then it will not return undefined. At runtime, if value is not defined, it is going to return null. So what is undefined and what is null.